Another weekend of college football is in the books. Although we didn't have the great matchups we had in week 1, we still had plenty of fantastic games. There were a couple of upsets and really thrilling finishes, as there were also a couple of shakeups inside my rankings. So after week 2 of the college football season, here is my top 25. But before we get to today's rankings, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football. And odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Also, my apologies if the audio is a little off for this video. I'm currently in Chicago for work and I don't have my mic, so I'm using my phone to record this video. Staying at number 1 is Ohio State. They took on Grambling and beat them 70-0. Now, shout out to Grambling because they had to show up, they had to play this game. Their head coach earlier in the week had a pretty insane quote. He was talking about this upcoming game, and he said something along the lines of, "We know what's going to happen to us." So shout out to them for scheduling this game. Shout out to them for taking the money. And, well, yeah, this was an ugly game for the Tigers. Julian Sain threw for over 300 yards and had 4 passing touchdowns, and he had only 1 incompletion on the day. Jeremiah Smith, he had 120 yards through the air and had 2 receiving touchdowns. At number 2, we have Penn State, who had a very easy 34-0 victory over Florida International. Drew Aller threw for 200 yards with 2 passing touchdowns, while Katron Allen ran for 150 yards with a rushing score. LSU was never really on upset watch, but it was kind of close in their game against Louisiana Tech as they won 23-7. Garrett Nussmeier threw for 240 yards and had a passing touchdown with an interception. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Tigers only averaged 3.8 yards per rush attempt. After their thrilling victory on the road at Clemson last week, this was a bit of a disappointing game from LSU, but again, a win is a win. Another week, another dominant victory from Oregon, this time taking down Oklahoma State 69-3. Now, this wasn't an FCS opponent. Oklahoma State is in the Big 12, and they got absolutely dominated by the Ducks. Dante Moore threw for over 250 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Ducks ran for a combined 312 yards, averaging 8.5 yards per carry with 5 rushing scores. Now, I know Oklahoma State's not a great team, but through the first 2 weeks, this Oregon squad, I think they might be the real deal, and I definitely think they should be one of the top contenders to win the national championship this year. Georgia played another cupcake, and once again, they didn't cover the high spread as they beat Austin Peay 28-6. A win is a win, but as a 45-point favorite, winning by only 22 points, that's a little bit concerning, I think, for Georgia. Miami followed up their thrilling win over Notre Dame with an easy 45-3 victory over Bethune-Cookman. Carson Beck was nearly perfect as he completed 22 of 24 passes for 270 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, Mark Fletcher Jr. rushed for just under 100 yards and had 2 rushing scores. After last week's disappointing showing, Arch Manning led Texas to a 38-7 victory over San Jose State. Manning threw for 300 yards and had 4 passing touchdowns, while also adding a touchdown on the ground as well. Texas scored 38 points, and Arch Manning accounted for 35 of those. In what was considered to be the best game of the entire weekend, Oklahoma took down Michigan at home 24-13. John Mateer cemented himself as the Heisman frontrunner at this point in the season as he had another fantastic game for the Sooners. He threw for 270 yards with a passing touchdown while leading the Sooners on the ground with 75 rushing yards and 2 rushing scores. Last week, John Mateer had 400 total yards of offense, and this week he had 350 yards with 2 touchdowns. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that Oklahoma is a championship contender, but they definitely look like they could be in the hunt for a playoff spot this year. Illinois had probably one of the more impressive victories of the entire weekend in their 45-19 victory over Duke. Now, I will personally admit, I actually had Duke in this game and I thought they were going to pull it out. And early on, it was looking that way as the Blue Devils had a 3-point lead at the half. But Illinois outscored the Blue Devils 31-6 in the second half. Luke Altmaier threw for 300 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns and had one of the best games of his collegiate career. I say it almost every video, but there are so many good teams in the Big Ten this year, but do not sleep on Illinois. As of right now, this game is still currently going on. South Carolina is up by 30 points over South Carolina State. And yeah, no offense to South Carolina, but I think that's all the time we're going to spend on this one. Notre Dame was off this weekend, so here's where I got them ranked. Indiana had another easy victory as they took down Kennesaw State 56-9. Fernando Mendoza had another great game for the Hoosiers as he threw for 250 yards and had 4 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Hoosiers ran for a combined 310 yards, averaging 8 yards a carry with 3 rushing scores. After last week's thrilling upset victory over Alabama, Florida State had a much easier game at home as they took on East Texas A&M. Now, I'm with you. I'm learning for the first time that there is an East Texas A&M and that they have a football team. Well, Florida State dismantled them as they won by 74 points. Tommy Castellanos threw for 240 yards with 3 passing touchdowns on only 8 completions. For the game, he only threw the ball 11 times. For a team, Florida State threw for just under 400 yards and had 6 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, Florida State ran for 360 yards and had 5 rushing touchdowns. Their 11 touchdowns in this game tied a franchise record. Oh, and they also had more than 700 yards of total offense. But again, when you're going up against a team called East Texas A&M, that's probably what's going to happen. Ole Miss was looking like they were going to be on upset watch in this game as they won a back-and-forth contest with Kentucky. Austin Simmons threw for 230 yards, but he didn't have a passing touchdown, and he threw 2 interceptions. Luckily for the Rebels, their rushing attack was fantastic as they ran for over 220 yards with 3 rushing scores. The most notable thing from this game was Lane Kiffin's interview following the game when he apologized for not covering the spread. Yeah, never change, Lane Kiffin. We had a battle of the Aggies versus the Aggies as Texas A&M took down Utah State 44-22. Marcel Reed threw for over 200 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Aggies ran for over 230 yards with 2 rushing scores. It was looking like Clemson was going to be on upset watch and we would have our biggest upset of the entire weekend. At the half, they trailed Troy 16-3, but they outscored the Trojans 24-0 in the second half to escape with the 11-point victory. Cade Klubnik threw for 200 yards with 2 passing touchdowns and had an interception as well. I said it last week, but I wasn't all that impressed with Clemson in their loss to LSU, and you follow that up with a game against Troy, a game in which you were a 30-point favorite, you're trailing at the half, you win by only 11. Yeah, Clemson, I really don't know what to think about them this year, and I don't think they're as good as many people are expecting them to be. Tennessee had an easy one as they took down East Tennessee State 72-17. The offense was clicking in this one as Joey Aguilar threw for 300 yards with 2 passing touchdowns. Once Joey Aguilar left the game, the backup quarterbacks combined to throw for just under 200 yards with 2 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, Tennessee ran for 260 yards and had 5 rushing scores. Utah had an easy one against Cal Poly as they won 63-9. Devin Dampier had another great game as he threw for 200 yards with 3 passing touchdowns while adding 25 yards on the ground as well. Overall for the game, Utah ran for 275 yards and had 5 rushing touchdowns. The biggest upset of the entire weekend was South Florida going into the Swamp and knocking off number 13 Florida 18-16. USF was able to hang around all game, but late in the fourth quarter, they were able to put together the game-winning drive, and they kicked a game-winning field goal as time expired to pull off the huge upset. Byron Brown threw for 260 yards with a passing touchdown, while also being the leading rusher for the Bulls with 70 rushing yards. South Florida had a great start to their season last week as they took down Boise State in a pretty big blowout. They followed that up by going on the road to one of the more hostile environments in all of college football and escaping with the upset. Now, it might be a little bit too early to say South Florida is a playoff contender, but as of right now, they look like the best group of 5 team in college football, and they're probably my early favorite to reach the playoff. We had El Assico as Ohio State took on Iowa, and of course, there was no offense. There was a lot of defense. This game was disgusting. It was a disgrace to football, but Iowa State pulled off the 16-13 victory. Rocco Beck threw for only 130 yards with a passing touchdown. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Cyclones ran for only 100 yards, averaging only 3.5 yards per carry. It was an ugly win, but a win is a win, and Iowa State is now 3-0 on the season. After their exciting victory over Baylor last week, Auburn had a very easy 42-3 victory over Ball State. Jackson Arnold had another great game as he threw for over 250 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. Last week, I talked about Jackson Arnold doing it all on the ground. Well, this week was the complete opposite as he did it all through the air. Texas Tech had an easy victory over Kent State as they won 62-14. Baron Morton threw for over 250 yards and had 3 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, Adam Hill led the way for the Red Raiders as he ran for 130 yards. Although Texas Tech had a very easy 48-point victory, I do want to have them ranked a little bit lower, mainly because they messed up my pick. I had them minus 48.5, and, well, they won by 48, and they screwed me. This game wasn't an upset or anything, but it was arguably the most exciting game of the entire weekend as Baylor went on the road and upset number 17 SMU in double overtime 48-45. Sawyer Robinson had another insane day in the stat sheet as he threw for 440 yards and had 4 passing touchdowns. Meanwhile, on the ground, Bryson Washington ran for over 100 yards and had 2 rushing scores. Baylor had a couple of receivers with insane games as well. Josh Cameron had 9 receptions for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ashton Hawkins had 10 receptions for 150 yards, but no receiving touchdowns. It was a rough loss last week for Baylor to open up their season against Auburn, but this was a very nice bounce back win. I talked about this game earlier in the video, but Michigan fell on the road to Oklahoma 24-13. Bryce Underwood had his first opportunity to play a really good team, and let's just say he was very underwhelming. He completed 9 of 24 passes for 140 yards and didn't have a passing touchdown. Justice Haynes did all he could on the ground as he ran for 125 yards with a score, but this Michigan offense just couldn't do anything. Their defense was able to keep them in this game as best as they could, but yeah, this Michigan offense, I think there might be some problems this year if they can't figure out the quarterback situation. We're going to wrap up today's video with a real heartbreaker for me. I still have Arizona State inside my top 25 as they fell on the road to Mississippi State by 4 points. Sam Leavitt, he was terrible. This was the guy I had as my early Heisman top 3. He threw for only 80 yards, didn't even complete 50% of his passes, and had 2 costly interceptions. The reason ASU was in this game to even begin with was because of their rushing game. Raleek Brown had 110 yards, and Kanye Udo had 105 yards. Arizona State could have locked this game up late in the game. They were on the 1-yard line with a minute and a half left. Instead of going for the kill and getting the touchdown, they went for the field goal, and as you know, Mississippi State won on a crazy play, a 60-yard touchdown with 30 seconds left, and they took down ASU. I think Mississippi State is going to be a lot better than people are expecting in 2025, so losing to a team like this on their home turf, while it is a bad loss considering ASU should have won, I'm not going to dock them too much for it. Well, that wraps it up for today's video. What are your thoughts on my top 25? Was there a team I had ranked way too high, or was there a team I had ranked way too low? Also, was there a team that didn't crack my top 25 that you think should have been in here? Whoever it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos all season long, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm, and it helps share this video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.